Hey podcast fans, this is your host, Charlie Malouf, and this is our final episode in the Ron Carucci series. Yeah, I know that's sad, but we're gonna bring you fresh new content after this one, don't worry. So hey, what are we doing with this episode? Sometimes when we have guest speakers, we like to bring our VIP friends, partners, others who might appreciate the content. And this one we had a few folks come in who are friends of the river, and we said, hey, would you mind getting on camera and just chatting with us for a little bit? So here we've got Marcus Benjamin from the Benjamin Consulting Group, and then our good friend Davin Salvagno. You may know him from the Purpose Summit, PurposePoint, Heart Count, or you may know him from LinkedIn. The so good guy. He's spoken to us at Broad River. He's been on Stories from the River before, and his new book is The Thieves of Purpose. You're going to hear from Davin and Marcus and their experience from Ron Carucci's talk at Broad River on Friday, September 20th. Thanks so much for joining us, and hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
My name is Davin Salvagno, founder of the Purpose Summit and raving fan of Broad River Retail.
Marcus Benjamin, CEO at Benjamin Strategy.
I attended today as a special invited guest because Ron Carucci is a good friend of mine.
Well, I was invited by Charlie and Heather, and the invitation was compelling because I had heard a little bit about Ron from his previous speech, and so I was looking forward to hearing him talk again.
Ron and I have had the privilege to spend the last 3-4 years together, speaking in different stages, and he comes to the Purpose Summit every single year. He's kind of a staple, but he's been much more of a friend and mentor in my life most recently, and I just wanted to be here to support him and to learn and glean from him, as I often try to. So I have been connected with Broad River since you and I, Charlie, connected on LinkedIn when you did your Day of Purpose. And I believe it was 2018, 2019 when you had Zach Mercurio come in, and Zach and I are good friends, have been in the purpose space for quite some time, and so I saw Zach's post about what you guys are doing, and then you reached out, and you know, I've been following your journey ever since and been grateful to be a part of it. I've had the privilege of working with Broad River in several capacities. One, graciously had the opportunity to come speak to the memory makers multiple times, written about them in both of my books, been on the Stories from the River podcast, 4 different episodes. I think we've got more coming. And having the memory makers be a significant part of the Purpose Summit year after year with a record 105 memory makers at the summit last year was huge. And as I said earlier, I'm a raving fan, so I just love amplifying the great example of purpose leadership that Broad River sets for others. I consider myself an adopted memory maker. I've got more Broad River swag than I think of any other company that I've worked with. I've got so much that my daughter actually steals it and wears around the house. So she's got United shirts and Purpose shirts, and she's now even tried to take this pullover, which is from the summit last year. So yes. I thought Ron's talk this morning was one of the best talks I've heard him give. And he thrives in these intimate settings.
Ron's talk was both funny and factual.
Anytime that he is in an environment where people recognize that they're doing a lot of good things, but they could be better, they have a growth mindset and they're willing to learn, Ron thrives.
It gave data and insight and really candid perspectives. He told a lot of great stories about building strong seams and strong teams, and that resonated well with the Broad River culture from what I understand.
And every time I hear Ron talk, I hear something that resonates specifically with me in that moment, and it's always something new, it's always something powerful, it's always something fresh. But today, and I think others have already shared this, but I heard him say, you all know who they are, but whose they are you?
Personally, I really took that strong seams thought to heart, because I started thinking about organizations that want to scale, grow, etc. But a lot of times the infrastructure that they have in place doesn't support their growth aspiration.
And when he said that in the room, like everyone sighed, you could hear a pin drop. And I think he just did a really good job of helping us understand, we know who we are and we know others who maybe we're not on the same page with. that maybe frustrate us or that we don't get along with. And he turned that inward today and helped us look at ourselves and say, okay, but who is it that someone else is thinking about you that same way? Who's they or you? It was so good.
Most of our clients are endeavoring to scale, but a lot of times they miss the infrastructure piece. They're looking top line, but there's a whole lot more to scale than just top line.
He said this at the summit last year, was be who you are. And I think there's so many people that try to not be themselves. They try to be someone else. They aspire to be someone else.
Probably the story that he told about the young boys in Thailand and how the volunteers and the people really rallied together to see, even though the odds seemed grim that those young men would survive, but they were still rallying together. And so really thinking about that personally, like what am I really connected to beyond the corporate and beyond the professional? Where am I rallying, or what am I rallying around to bring my skills to bear? So that was really strong for me.
He didn't say this in today's session, but this is just you asked personally. Ron is much further ahead in the speaking and author journey that I am. And a lot of times I try to aspire to be someone other than myself. I try to be Ron. I looked at people that I look up to and mentor after. I try to be them. And in the car on the way back, driving him to the airport, he shared some very personal things that he appreciated about me that helped me, again, look inwardly and helped me remind myself that I just need to be me. So today, one of the things that I know that I'm going to walk away with and put into practice immediately is his concept of the scene. I'd never come across this concept before. It was so powerful. I can't stop thinking about the visual of, the son in the dad's sport coat, right, and not fitting correctly, or the opposite, trying to stay in a sport coat that you've outgrown and is bursting at the seams. And the analogy that is for organizations who are growing and how they need to adjust to fit into the size that they are aspiring to be. He mentioned Marshall Goldsmith's favorite book quote, "What got you here, what won't get you there." And we've all heard that phrase before.
The first thing is to go back home and quite candidly have a conversation with my wife tonight, because from a relationship standpoint, even though we were talking about organizational culture and what Ron was sharing, strong seams matter in every relationship. So just talking with my wife just about that concept and thinking about our adult children and how strong are our seams, with each other, with our children, etc. So that was really personal for me as well.
My favorite quote today was, "Who's they are you?"
I hate to keep saying the word seams, but that just kept standing out to me. He used that term often, and I think that every organization that's threaded together in cross-functional relationship and understanding we're supposed to be different, but we're supposed to hold each other together as we're pursuing the corporate mission. And he mentioned about words on a board. And he said, these words don't matter if this doesn't matter. And so that was powerful as well.
But my second favorite quote today was that one, which was, "Seams give us feedback when we ask more of them than they're actually designed to hold." That was so good. It was so powerful.
I think trust starts with competence, whether it is a person being hired to do a job or whether a person who's actually managing a team. We're all here to produce something professionally.
Trust is one of the hardest things to build within organizations. And the only way that it gets built, or I should say, a healthy level of trust is built based off of how vulnerable and real people are able to get with each other. Unfortunately, there's too many people in organizations that are, hiding something or not showing up as their real selves or trying to save face or trying to posture. And all of those things break trust. They actually deflate trust.
We want to learn to like each other along the way, but we're all here to produce something professionally. So when people see that someone is actually doing their job and doing it well, to me, that's a strong baseline of trust outside of a title. It's what they're actually producing that's contributing to the success of the company, and then through that interaction, then personal trust is built. It's hard to build trust with someone who's not competent.
So the more real, the more honest, Ron's book is To Be Honest, right? The reason he wrote that book was the more real, the more vulnerable, the more honest that we can be with each other, the more we build trust with each other. And it doesn't always feel good. And I think there's a lot of people that the reason that they don't go there is because they know it doesn't feel good. But the reality is that when you do go there and then you experience the trust that is birthed from going there, it feels much better than you ever thought it could, and you never want to go back. I'm constantly seeing trusts be destroyed in organizations through three ways. Number one is companies and leaders not doing what they say they're going to do.
From a leadership standpoint, it can be destroyed when a leader communicates one thing, but then allows something else.
I see them walk back initiatives the second the times get hard. There's a lot of organizations that they go on this purpose, mission, vision, value journey, but then the second that times get tough, the second that they have to, look at their quarterly earnings, and all of a sudden profit becomes more important and they walk back a lot of those things, you break trust in an organization.
Then the leader is not looked at as the true leader. Really, leadership is happening with what they're allowing to happen in the organization. So I think trust is built from a leadership standpoint by communicating expectations, communicating vision, mission, and process, and then holding people accountable to what they communicate.
Third way that I see trust being broken in an organization is between people. Right, between people saying, hey, I'm here for you, I see you, you're valued, you mattered, but then that doesn't actually hold up. Their actions don't align with the words that they're telling people. So it's important for companies to bring in guest speakers because I think a lot of times we get caught in the rabbit race of the mundane, right? We're so process driven, there's so many things to do. And when we have a moment to just pause and get off the hamster wheel for an hour and have someone who knows us, sees us, can speak to our hearts and minds and get us to pause and think differently about who we are and how we're showing up, it can positively impact the rest of that day and then the rest of the week and so forth and so on. So they're really great recalibration moments when we do that.
It's good to have outside thought, and outside thought that provides a different perspective, but yet synergizes with the vision, mission, and culture of the organization. That type of quote unquote outside perspective can help germinate the seeds that have been planted by leadership. Primarily, my goal is to be the example. I tell our team, like, hey, listen, whatever you see me do that. Even though you hear me talk a lot, but whatever you see me do, then do that. And if that's the wrong thing, then that means I need to change first. So I'm never gonna wait for them, I'm gonna be the one to lead from the front. We made a decision 2 years ago that if it didn't involve partnerships, then we weren't gonna do it. That anything that our company could do solo was a no-go. And we communicated that. We had a lot of great solo projects going on and we phased those projects out. And people on our team was like, hold on, he's really serious. I'm like, yeah, we're really serious. Like, this is the direction our company is going in. And many of our team members who were working locally, they could see me in the office every day, striking things off the board, see me making adjustments to certain projects that we were working on. And some of these projects were my projects, meaning I'm the one that started them. So seeing me lead from the front and eliminating some of my projects off the board, it helped them understand that, okay, if he can remove that project and I know how much he talked about it, then certainly now I can put my white flag up and start pulling back some of the things that I thought were very important. So that was a great example of trust, but it was uncomfortable because I had started some of these personal projects, but I had to lead by example, and they didn't involve partnerships, and it was solo endeavors. 2 years later, the team is not fully excited, but they're about 70% there. They're trending upward just because we were a smaller company, 8 to 10 consultants with a few, project managers, but growth requires change and change requires expanded capacity. So we need to focus on partnerships and not be silos.
So one of my favorite phrases is feed forward versus feedback. And Ron uses that, I've used that, Gary Ridge has used that. So many people don't like to hear feedback because they feel like it's criticism and they know that they need to change, or they get defensive, all those different things. It's a lot of reasons that organizations don't ask the questions that Ron asked, and why a lot of employees don't honestly answer the way that the memory makers answered. But when you look at feedback as feed forward, when you state the purpose of why you're asking the questions, hey, we are asking these questions because we want to get better, we want to improve, and we can't fix what we don't know is broken. When you create an environment where you've stated that's the purpose of asking these, then people don't provide you feedback. They provide you feed forward. They give you things that allow you to move into the next iteration of yourself, to allow you to grow. That's why when Ron posted those questions and said, these are honest answers that we got, this is a sign of success. Because what Broad River has done has created an environment where memory makers didn't provide feedback, they provided feed forward. So balcony people is a concept that I learned a long time ago, and it actually comes from Hebrews. When you're running a race and there's all these people who've gone before you and they're cheering you on from above to continue to run the race set out before you. And so what Broad River has done really, really well is, whether today is your first day here or your 10th year here, is there's a whole bunch of memory makers who have gone before those. And what I have observed is that when you come to the river, you're welcomed with open arms and you're cheered on from all those who have gone before you to run the race set out before you. Honestly, it's been a pleasure and a joy to have a front row seat the last 5 years to the growth journey, culture journey of Broad River Retail, and to continue to feel like a member of this memory maker family, and to just continue to fight the good fight and challenge more organizations to run with us and to see their people the way that you see them, and to fight for a purpose greater than profit and use business as a force for good in the world, because we all need it.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.